Welcome back, and we'll finish up a series here on the playing of B.B. King, his early recordings. Hope you've enjoyed the first two lessons and learned a lot. Here in this third lesson, I'm just going to try to throw some various ideas that I picked up from B.B. King's early recordings, some cool playing. Start out with chords. You don't hear many chords in his stuff, period. He just doesn't play a lot. I've always heard that he can play chords and is pretty good at it, but he just doesn't do it. One chord that you hear thrown into a lot of his early recordings, or some of his early recordings, is a sixth chord. We're going to stay in B flat, and make sure you understand that all the licks that I've showed you so far can be moved to different keys just by following the first position bar chord shape. So this is a G. We can play an A. Some of his stuff is an F. He's got stuff in C, D, B flat, even some in between keys. So let's go to B flat and a G6 chord, or a B flat 6th chord. Every now and then he'll play a solo run and then throw in these chords. And that sounds right there. You hear in a lot of his stuff. It's a 6th chord. What I'm doing is making an F shape, just like I would play down here, sliding it so my first finger is barring the 1st and 2nd strings at the 6th fret, and then I'm taking my pinky and dropping it in on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. And the way B.B. plays it, he kind of punches it. So again, in the context. You can throw it in a lot of different ways, but that's a 6th chord. You do hear him play that every now and then. 9th chords on some songs, like 3 O'Clock Blues, I think I hear him throwing those in, but not very often. That's really about it. He does do a couple songs where he has 7ths. There's a tune called Bad Case of Love where he plays a rhythm using 7th chords. Where I do hear him use a 7th sometimes is when he gets to the 5, the turnaround of a song. He might play something like this. And that's just a C7th shape, taking it here, and if I'm playing in B flat, we're going to make an F7th by moving the ring finger to the F note, which is the 8th fret of the 5th string. And just picking the 2nd through 5th string. So again, he can use that as a turnaround. Different rhythm possibilities there, but you really just don't hear a lot of chord playing in B.B.'s stuff. There's some here and there, but it's not a major part of his style. One thing I wanted to show you are some licks that I really like from B.B.'s playing, especially when he gets around the 5 chord. And I remember these just by thinking 5 chord licks, and one of them, one of my favorites, goes something like this. And that one, if I'm playing in B flat, I'm bending with my 3-finger bend from the 6th to the 8th frets, going to the 6th fret, back to the 8th fret of the 1st string, and then the lick ends on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. And sometimes he'll use that by itself or as part of another lick, which is kind of cool, something like this. Or like this. And that little lick, he goes from the 2nd string to the 3rd string, from the 6th to the 8th fret. And a lot of times he'll combine it. So that it's just really a simple idea. Sometimes he'll wrap it up on the 8th fret of the 3rd string. Sometimes he'll wrap it up on the 6th fret of the 2nd string. And that's just a little type of thing you'll hear. Another one that I like a lot is when he does these runs. Freddie King did something just like this quite a bit, where he does this. And what I'm doing is on the 1st string, going from the 9th to the 6th, and then coming down on the 8th fret of the 1st string. So all on the 1st string, and then to the 8th fret of the 2nd string, and then back to the 6th fret of the 1st string, and then to the 9th fret of the 2nd string, 6th fret of the 2nd string. That's a cool lick. Use that in all kinds of different contexts. He can do the same thing on the 2nd string. And I'm just doing the same thing, but this time emphasizing the hammer on it. Again, you can mix that in a lot of different ways. That's a really cool type lick. Oh, let me think. I'm getting toward the end of my early B.B. King repertoire. One thing I'd like to show you are some of his introductions and end tags. We can do all this here in one lesson. I'm not going to show you a bunch of introductions, but I'll just show you some different ideas that he uses that you can use to figure these out or develop your own if you want. One of his most famous introductory phrases he uses on a song called Sweet 16. And he does something like this. And so the first lick, he's going to walk. If I'm going to play it in C. I'm going to move it down. And that's a common one. Even in his early recordings he uses it. And I'm going to walk from the 8th to the 10th frets on the 2nd string in the key of C. If I do it in B flat, I'm going from the 6th to the 8th. So let's go ahead and do it in B flat since we've been in that key. He's got a song called Recession Blues where he does that kind of introduction. So I'm walking from the 8th to the 10th, or the 6th to the 8th, to the 6th, then I'm bending, 3-fingered bend on the 6th, 7th, and 8th frets of the 1st string, and then I'm winding up on the 6th fret of the 2nd string. You can do all kinds of things. That second idea is from another introduction that I'll show you here in a second from the song 3 O'Clock Blues. So that little riff, he'll use that to start off the solo and then do different licks after that to fill it out. Another introductory thing is this riff. And that one I showed you early on, and that is a riff that's a foundation of many of his solos and fills and things like that. So if he's playing a solo, a lot of times you'll hear this. You'll hear that riff in different places in a solo or his fills. As an introduction, he just starts off songs like kind of like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And then into the song, but the introduction. And he can emphasize it differently. Sometimes I hear him playing like this. Or sometimes like this. There's a tune called Walking Dr. Bill where he starts off the tune in F. Like that. And that's another typical B.B. King introduction for some of his more swinging songs. He also uses that riff in 3 O'Clock Blues where he starts off the song like this in B flat. Here's our 7th chord. And he does this really cool riff in that tune. So he does the... I'm not sure if that's exactly the lick at the introduction, but he plays something like that where he's going from the high note So in B flat, it would be from the 13th, 12th, 11th frets of the first string. Then our second blues box lick. And then that's another riff that you'll hear him use to round up a phrase or to conclude an introduction. And I'm just doing the hammer on from the 6th to the 7th frets of the 3rd string. Then the vibrato on the 2nd fret of the 6th fret of the 2nd string. Now some of his tunes have some unique introductions. He's got a tune called